Yeah, that's a really good question, and it's really tough to pinpoint one single item. So the way we see it is basically three probably elements. The first one is the people, right? So I mean, you can't make any compromise on people, so you have to have the best people, especially in this environment. And I'm not ashamed to say I think we have one of the strongest fixed income teams in Canada. The second one is getting that team to focus on somewhat of a narrow subset of the capital market. So what we do at AlphaFix is we only do fixed income. So you take some smart people, get them to focus on some narrow part of the capital markets that basically increases the likelihood that they'll be able to beat the markets. And the last one is just to have an investment process that's going to give you some flexibility, especially in today's markets where you have different events happening at different moments. If you have a rigid investment process, more difficult to capture some alpha, whereas if you have a bit more of a flexible investment process, you should be able to do better in this environment. So back to the process, because we have a flexible process, we're able to deploy risk where the best opportunities are. So if I think, for example, back in 2022, interest rates were very low, 10-year rates were at 0.5%, an anomaly for us. So as a fixed income manager, you reduce duration, reduce sensitivity to higher rates. Fast forward a year later, year and a half later, 10-year rates in Canada are closer to 4%, fundamentally different environment. You want to have a different positioning in terms of duration. So being able to deploy duration either on the short side or the long side makes a lot of sense. And then there's a whole other aspect, which is on the credit side, provincials and corporates. So in an environment where credit is spreads are actually quite wide, you want to increase sensitivity. But in an environment like today where everything is expensive, just like the stock market, you probably want to be a bit more defensive. So again, flexibility in the investment process allows us to deploy risk where we think we have the better chance of adding alpha in the portfolios. Many interesting things, but if I just try to focus on something maybe a bit more personal, on the weekends I actually trade my Bloomberg screens for chainsaws, tractors, or whatever is required to be able to prepare for the next maple sugar season. So I actually own a maple farm with my brother. We've owned this for 4 or 5 years. It takes a lot of my free time, but certainly allows me to just work differently in a completely different environment and come back ready to face the challenges when the markets open back on Monday.